Welcome to another episode of Metal Mastermind. Today we're going to show you how to overlap your guitar tracks in the studio when you want to combine two pieces of music, but maybe you have different sounds, different guitar sounds for those pieces of music. So you don't want that abrupt ending and beginning, but you want those tracks to overlap one another. We're going to show you some tips on how to do that and how to make it sound awesome. Now for this example, what we're going to do is going to record just a clean intro. We want that clean guitar sound, right? But then it's going to go into what we'll call the verse, and that's where the guitar parts get heavy. Okay, so obviously we're going to record different tracks for these parts. But again, we want a very smooth transition. We want those guitars to overlap one another. And we're going to show you exactly how to do that and some little things to make it just sound a lot better and just more pristine in the mix. So first things first, we got to decide which guitar we're going to use. Let's see here. That 7-string over there? Okay, yeah, let's use that one. All right, now we're ready to record our first guitar track. So this is going to be a clean intro. Now, by the way, for the purpose of this video, we are using Presonus Studio One for our DAW, but the features that we'll go over, the functions rather, they should be universal across most DAWs. Now, there's two things you'll notice about this guitar track, this clean guitar track. So, number one, I let it ring out, okay? I let that ring out for a while, and you'll see why in a second. The other thing, I actually ended that intro on the same note that I started with. There's a reason for that as well. But before we get into that, let's record our next guitar track. And this is where the music is going to change a little bit, okay? We're going to go from clean to distorted guitar. So let's record that, and then we'll get into the studio and we'll kind of church things up, and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing with this and why, and how this can help your workflow in the studio. Now, going back to the clean track, remember I let that kind of ring out, and that's because I didn't want an abrupt ending from clean guitar to distorted guitar. Remember, this video is all about overlapping those guitar tracks, right? So that's why we let it ring out. Now, you also remember that I actually ended that intro with the same chord I started the intro with. The reason I did that really doesn't have anything to do with how I started the intro, has more to do with the chord that starts that next piece of music. We'll call it the verse, where those heavy guitars kick in. They're actually starting on that note that I ended the clean part on. And that's because I wanted that note to ring out with the clean guitar, but I didn't want it to clash with a distorted guitar, right? So we wanted to make sure that, we're in sync there, that we're playing that same chord, that same note there that the distorted guitar is starting out with, so that that sounds, sounds good as we let that ring out. Now, had we started the distorted guitars in a different key or on a different note, we would probably want that clean guitar to end on that same note as well. Again, because you're letting that ring out, so it needs to flow with that next guitar that's coming in. Now, I want to jump into the studio and just show you a few little things you can do to make this tight, okay? Make this thing sound a little bit tighter and a little bit better, and just make it flow more evenly. So these are just some basic studio tips here once you record your guitar track, and you may already know this and may already do this, but if you don't, this is going to be very helpful. We want to shave off the dead spaces, okay? All the dead parts that we have where the guitar is not being played, we want to shave that off first. So we'll do that pretty easy. In most DAWs, you can just kind of drag that part of the track over to shave that off. right? Now, on the clean guitar, I want to move over here. So remember, I let that ring out, but maybe I don't want that to ring out all the way, okay? So I want to drag this back just a little bit. And another thing I'm going to do here, I want the volume to decrease so it's more of a fade out. I mean, it's already fading out as you hit that last note, that last chord there. It's going to naturally fade out, but maybe I want it to fade out just a little sooner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the corner of that track and then drag this little piece over, and then you can see here how I can even modify how much of a fade that I want. You can have a greater fade, or you can have the fade be a little bit more abrupt. Don't really want that, so I'm just going to let it fade out just kind of at an even kill level here, if that makes sense. Now let's take this one more step further. So we've got our clean guitar intro, and then we've got our distorted guitars starting out, and we let that clean intro, we let that just kind of overlap where the distorted guitars come in. Well, let's go to the end of that distorted guitar part there. I also let that ring out as well, you'll notice, okay? And I did that for a reason. So I'm actually going to bring another guitar part in, but I want a different sound for this next guitar part. So we're going to let that distorted guitar, let that ring out, and I'll go ahead and make those modifications, the same modifications that we did to the end of the clean guitar track earlier. I'm just going to kind of shave it back a little bit, and then I'm going to drag that little corner because I want it to be more of a fade. You can always change this later at any time once you record the next guitar, but I'm going to go ahead and just make this modification now. And I'm going to record a third guitar track, but again, this is going to have a different sound to it, and I want that distorted guitar track, that ending there, to overlap what I'm about to record. So now I can go back in and I can make more changes if I need to, right? If I want that distorted guitar, if I want that to kind of carry out just a little bit more, you know, we can drag it further out, or I can move it up if I want the guitar to end sooner, that distorted guitar to end sooner or fade out sooner. You know, we can just kind of move that around. And this is where you want to trust your ears in the mixing process. What sounds better for your song? What sounds better for your music here? So now that we've done that, let's listen to this entire little piece of music that you and I have created together here. don't forget, we have a free home studio guide. You can download that. There's a link in the description of this video. So if you don't have that yet, be sure to grab a copy of that and let us know if you have any comments or any questions on this video tutorial here on how to overlap your guitar tracks. This is where things can get really interesting and fun in the studio when you're recording multiple guitars and you have multiple sounds that you want, but you don't want those abrupt endings and beginnings. Now, in some cases you might want that, and that's okay, but a lot of times we want to hear that guitar kind of fade out and overlap the new guitar part that's coming in. It just makes things sound a lot smoother most of the time if that's what you're going for. So again, please let us know if you have any questions in the comments below, and we'll see you on the next Metal Mastermind.